Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
On today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate, I am thrilled to welcome Roy Osing, the man who took a startup to a staggering $1 billion in annual sales. Roy is not just any leader. He's the only author, entrepreneur, and executive who delivers practical and proven, audacious, unheard of ways of creating high-performing businesses and building successful careers. With over 40 years of unmatched executive leadership experience, including his role as the president of a major data and internet company, Roy's audacious methods have transformed budding companies into a billion-dollar powerhouse. He's a prolific blogger, content marketer, and mentor to young professionals, sharing his wisdom through his no-nonsense book series, Be Different or Be Dead. Get ready to dive into his audacious and innovative journey as we have our conversation today. Roy, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be here.
I am so excited to have this conversation today. The word audacious is one of my most favorite, and mostly because it also leads and leans into becoming disruptive and challenging the things around us, because norms usually aren't the best way of doing things. So, Roy, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and why it's so important right now.
So my life is all about be different or be dead. I've been working this theme for like 40 years, and sometimes it seems like I'm not making any progress because the inertia and momentum of the past out there is so strong. But it's important because, generally speaking, particularly in business, organizations do a mediocre at best job at differentiating themselves. So look, at the key to growth in any business is all about differentiation. I mean, very few have the ability to get economies of scale and scope and all that great textbook stuff people talk about. It's all about differentiation. And I've been working this, as I say, for years. It's important because growth requires differentiation. Okay, and organizations are constantly telling me that they're having difficulty growing. And when I look at what they're doing, they don't have any differentiation. Or at best, it's what I call claptrap, where they claim that they're the best and they're the better and they're the leader and so forth. And those sorts of things don't make any meaning at all to customers, okay? And so I think I'd love to see us, and I've created my own solution to this, which we can get into if you want. But generally speaking, we have a world of business out there that continues to be pedantic, that continues to rely on textbook thinking, okay, that basically shun disruption, okay, because it's difficult and painful. And you know what? I mean, pain is a strategic concept, okay, that I discovered a long time ago. And if you can't endure the pain, you'll never be disruptive, you'll never be innovative, and you won't grow. And so it's important because growth requires differentiation, right? And I'm just seeing that businesses have a long way to go there.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it is that you've developed and what you're using to help businesses understand that they are stuck in the way they've always done things, right? The status quo slows everything down into what you refer to, right, as mediocre results, mediocre businesses. How do you help leaders, founders, executives find the aha moment that says, oh my God, we have to do something different?
Yeah, well, it starts with context. Like you need a strategy, not like the same old textbook strategy. I had to create my own, what I call strategic game plan, because quite frankly, the methodologies around were so focused on what the plan was, the efficacy of the direction, the articulation by subject matter experts of the direction. I ran out of time and I couldn't figure out how to execute it. So I had to create my own planning model, which is basically spend 20% of your time getting the plan just about right and 80% of your time figuring out how you're going to execute it. Okay, it's called strategic game plan. I do this with clients in like 48 hours by answering 3 questions. How big do you want to be in 24 months? That's a statement of growth. It's a declaration of growth, and that's top line revenue. I don't believe in 5-year plans because the 4th year never shows up. Yep. The hockey stick just doesn't. So how big do you want to be? Who do you want to serve? What are the target customers that you're going to serve that have the latent potential to deliver your how big? And then the third question, how are you going to compete and win? That's all about differentiation. Okay, so what I do is I have a technique within answering, how am I going to be different, that I call the only statement. And it's not, I'm going to be better. It's not, I'm going to be best. I'm not going to be number one. I'm not going to be the market leader. I'm not going to be first. I'm going to be the only one that does what I do. And so that's a huge piece of my work, is helping businesses understand that indeed we can figure out what they're special at in a way that their who, i.e. target customers, care about. Look at, you don't start out by declaring what you think you are. You start out by targeting customers, understand what they crave, not what they need. By the way, this is not a needs-based world anymore, because everybody satisfies needs, and welcome to commodities if that's all you want to do. I want to find out indeed what Lisa craves, what she covets, okay, what keeps her awake up at night. Because if I can get into that space, okay, with the solutions that I offer, first of all, there's no competition because nobody else is thinking this way. And secondly, it's price insensitive. And so hence the direct connection between differentiation targeted at what people crave and growth. All right. So my work is all about strategic game planning context, developing an only statement based on really deep analysis of what target customers crave. Absolutely crave. What's your deepest desires is kind of like the way I say, tell me them. And it's funny, people have a hard time starting out that way because they've been taught that it's not, you need to satisfy needs. You need to exceed expectations. All of this textbook stuff, quite frankly, that drives me insane. Okay, because it's not practical, right? In fact, the people that write it have never run $1 billion a year business. So how can it be useful at all other than professorial, kind of left brain assuagement? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Obviously, I've got strong feelings about academia as it relates to business growth because we have people struggling, Lisa, out there. They're struggling. The textbooks aren't helping them. Okay, we need practical leaders. We need MBAs, Masters in Business Achievement. That's what we need. So I'm that MBA. So I bring to the table, kind of like a portfolio of crazy, contrarian, disruptive solutions. And when people say, well, how do you know that work? I said, well, check it out. I got $1 billion in sales. Will that do for evidence? So there's very, very few people out there that sort of lead into that space. But tactically, we got issues because people always want to do what the popular thing of the day is. Well, of course we need to use AI. Of course we need to do social media, et cetera, et cetera. And when I ask them, what's your strategic context within which you make those decisions? There's no answer. So that's kind of like the work I do. And I don't know, it's not going fast enough for me. I'm impatient.
Well, and any individual who is thinking from the mindset of we are getting to what, and I love the word, what our customer craves. Sorry to make this as an academic statement, right? But I believe in putting our customer at the center of our business universe, because if we aren't doing something that they, in your language, crave, our business has no value. It's stupid.
But you look at what the textbooks are telling people in terms of unique selling propositions.
Yeah.
It's all about a declaration of what they think they are and what they produce. Like we produce unique CRM solutions. What?
Who cares? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, welcome to the world of narcissism, because that's all it is, right? When you declare what you think you are, you're being narcissistic. I don't care about that. I don't care about the color of your hair. I don't care about your pronouns. What I want to know is, what special thing are you doing, right, to deliver into what people crave?
Yeah.
And that has to be different. That's the kind of like, that's the playground, if you will, of differentiation. But the way it is now, it's not. People feel that they've got to declare what they do. I don't care about that unless you connect it for me in terms of what people crave and how it's different than everybody else. Because if you're the same as everybody else, I mean, it may be comfortable, but you're not going to grow. You're going to die. Hence, be different or be dead.
Yes.
Simple.
Absolutely. It is a language and a philosophy that I very much align to. It's the purpose and the premise of the podcast and why we're having the conversation, because the status quo sucks. And we are continuously hearing voices, large voices, big Fortune 500 executive leaders telling us how much they want to get back to what they believed was the right way, which we all know is unsustainable and unmanageable. And there's a reason why the Fortune 500 companies are a handful of businesses, but they are not actually the businesses that make economies grow. Smaller businesses led by people who are willing to think differently, challenge, and take on this be different or die mindset, it allows them the ability to do things that others claim impossible. Will you tell us a little bit about your journey in taking a startup to $1 billion in sales? What were some of the obstacles, the roadblocks, and ways that you worked your way through that?
So the environment was a telephone company, okay, back in the day when it was a monopoly, where you basically got what we produced. End of story. We were regulated. We were union driven, we were technology driven, we were engineering driven, and along comes the internet as a disruption. And so I was asked to take on the leadership role of actually breathing life into this business and creating an opportunity for growth. And so we did have a data company, to be honest. It wasn't start from scratch. It was an early stage data company, but the internet comes in on top of that. And they said, Roy, can you take what we've got, add what we need to become, and make it successful? That was basically it. Okay. And so the cultural change piece was huge, because we had to move from unions to flexible workforces. We had to move from a monopoly to a competitive powerhouse. We had to move from engineering to marketing and customer service. So we had all of those cultural pieces that we had to affect, okay, in a morphing of the business. And it was hugely difficult because, I mean, I was facing people inside the company that didn't want us to succeed. I was facing people who were quite prepared to hang on to basic good old voice telephone service for the rest of what they believed was a reasonable life, even though that, we had this new stuff coming on it. And so that was huge. Fortunately, we were able to muster what I call an army of advocates, an army of people that we were able to light the fires in. My leadership style is really simple. I'm here to light your fire and convince you that the journey is worth going, and ask, will you join me? Right. And that's it. Okay. That's my limit of HR effectiveness. Right. That's it right there. And the neat thing is, it worked. It worked. I mean, we came up with crazy notions like hiring for goosebumps, killing dumb rules, cutting the crap, right? All of this kind of stuff to make execution more effective. Because if it didn't translate into effective execution, and why would we do it? Well, we wouldn't, right? And yet there's a lot of people that want to do cool things because they're cool. I was never on that page. If it didn't contribute to unbelievable performance, I wasn't interested in it. And so we were able to get people to buy in, to love the journey. And I spent like 80% of my time with them. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this, because that's how powerful it was. Just being with people, the front line, who were the supreme commanders of execution, and listening to them. And so I was kind of like the leader by serving around. That was my ethic. How can I help? Tell me what you need. Right? Tell me what's preventing you from executing, et cetera, et cetera. And so through that process, and it didn't happen overnight, through that process, the culture changed, people believed, people trusted, the pain tolerance, well, it was always high, and it came down a little bit because we started putting up the numbers. And look, at the end of the day, the only way to beat cynics is to perform. The only way to beat non-believers is to perform, is to shove unbelievable performance in their face. That's it. Okay, it's not based on the sort of altruism of the ideology, because eventually that has to degenerate into action and results. And so that's what we did. Drove to results, and then reflected back on it. And that's when I started thinking, oh, what we really did is I was really hiring for goosebumps. I should tag that. Oh, what we really did, okay. But at the time, all we were interested in is improve the viscosity of the inside machine so we could deliver, okay, solutions easier, So why would we want to do that? So we could dazzle customers, give them memorable experiences. Boom, loyalty goes up. And that was the other thing. We had a big base of customers that we dragged from the monopoly era, but a lot of them didn't like us, but we still had them. So they were ours to lose. And so our focus was on retention. It's kind of, I don't know, I find it kind of amusing these days when most of the marketing rhetoric is around new customer acquisition. The reality is, if you offer me a free TV to come to you, what makes you think I'm going to stay with you if I can't get another TV going somewhere else, right? Like the world, the sexiness of marketing is all about new customer acquisition. That's not what made us successful. That's not what got us to $1 billion, because we had them. Okay, the objective is to lose them. I keep saying to clients, look, you got 100,000 customers. Why are you spending all this money to get an extra 500 when what you should be doing is investing in those 100,000 to keep them, right? Keep the reviews up, dude. Keep them loving you. Keep them referring to you, right? Give them what they crave and up the price. Margins go up with that sort of thing. So that was the kind of journey that we were on. And in retrospect, it was freaking amazing. We had people that just gave their hearts and souls into the journey. And that's what it takes. That's what leadership is about. It's not declaring that the good old days were where we need to go. It's about capturing the hearts of people, right?
Absolutely. And I love the way that you're describing concepts and things that are so near and dear to my heart, that are part of my consulting practice, that are part of things, but the language that you're using is different and uniquely yours. And, hiring for Goosebumps is one of those things that'll be in the back of my head for a long time, because it is about the people who are doing the work, who are solving and caring for the customers. And the idea that retention, right, is more important than new client acquisition, because they will sell for you better than a sales force ever can. So 100,000 people shouting from the rooftops about how fantastic this experience is, it is literally priceless.
Well, and the problem is, I mean, I'm constantly asked, could you name 3 or 4 companies that do that? And I can't. Okay, I can name one person, okay, that is a company, and her name is Lady Gaga. She is amazing. She embodies all of this stuff. And there's another group that's probably before your time, certainly not before my time, and they were called the Grateful Dead, a rock band back in the 60s, okay? Way before the internet, way before all this stuff. And the lead guitar player was a guy by the name of Jerry Garcia. May he rest in peace. And he reasoned that, if we're going to give special deals, why wouldn't we just give them to our fans? Why are we looking for more? Why don't we use these fans as a basis, right, for referrals, et cetera, et cetera? Why don't we share our music? It makes sense to share the music, because if more people hear my music, they're likely to buy more product. In a world where patents and everything else, I mean, nobody wanted anybody to share, right? The Grateful Dead built a stand at every conference, and they housed the stand with recording equipment, and they invited their fans to record their music. Everybody thought they were absolutely crazy at a time when everybody was hoarding. You can't hoard and be successful, right? You just can't do that. Well, you can if you want a market of 2. But if you want a market of 10 million, you got to do something. Anyways, yeah, they were examples of that. People have lost sight of the fact that growth is about emotion. It's got nothing to do with logic. It's got nothing to do with that. Okay, it's got nothing to do with, I mean, hell, my degree is in math. So I've never solved a differential equation to get customers, all right? Never done that. Not likely to. But it taught me to solve problems and good. So, I mean, basically the emotional side of the thing, people aren't talking enough about it. Okay, customers buy on emotion. And the reason for that is it's a common denominator. Everybody else plays below, the line. They're all satisfying needs. They're all doing the same thing. We got a herd of sameness going on. And if you want to stand out from that, you got to play on the right side of the brain, not the left side. You got to appeal to passion, emotion, show vulnerability, show integrity, show honesty, be human. Okay, hence hiring for goosebumps, which is another way of saying hire people that love Homo sapiens is the other kind of way I talk about that, right? And have that permeate through your business. Even the guys in internal audit, they need to love humans. They're like, I believe really strongly, if you love people within inside the organization, there will be a natural tendency to love people outside of the organization. Whoops, that's growth. Oh my goodness, we slipped into the growth reasons there.
Crazy. And I love making the connection to one of those roles that, everybody just kind of goes, ew, right? Excuse me, audit compliance, right? These are people that everybody kind of goes, ew, I don't want to please, don't look at me, don't look this way. But you're right. Everybody inside, and again, my philosophy, every action that happens inside of a business has to provide value to the customer in some way, shape, or form. And if you don't understand that point of connection from your role to the customer, why are you doing it?
So I absolutely, and I'll go one level above that. Okay. Like I talk about line of sight leadership. Yep. And it's all about starting with your strategic game plan, right? And aligning it directly to every employee in the organization. And I used to do this. And this was not a small organization. There was thousands of people in this organization. So line of sight said the individual in internal audit understands exactly what they have to do to deliver to that game plan. So it's kind of like one level above. Okay, good. You have departmental plans. Good. I want to know how it contributes to the strategy of my organization, right? And if you can't do that, either I've failed in helping you work through that, or you just don't want to do it. And we'll deal with that any way we have to, right? But line of sight is really important because it gets rid of dysfunction. I mean, one of the biggest problems of productivity and delivering value is dysfunction caused by everybody doing what they think is the strategy tells them to do. Part of leadership is to draw that line, make it explicit. It's not that people are making a mistake, but if you let them, they're going to do what they normally would do. And unfortunately, that's a degree of freedom that I wasn't willing to let people have, because performance demanded direct line of sight, explicit understanding, right? And I'm going to hold you accountable. You can argue about it. We can have a conversation, but at the end of the day, it is the way it is, right? And so let's get going. And I mean, that approach worked fairly well because most people go, I didn't get that, Roy. Okay, I can do that. And then bang, watch them go, right? Once they get it, watch them go. And they infect other people. I mean, this is the kind of virus you want to spread. Okay.
Absolutely is the virus that you want to spread. Roy, if our conversation today has piqued the interest and curiosity of members of the audience, what is the best way for them to find you and find out more about Being Different or Be Dead?
So I have a website, bedifferentorbedead.com, and I've been doing this since 2009. So my blog is there from 2009. So I've been hacking my way through this and just trying to come at the whole thing of be different or be dead from differentiation from various angles. Everything we've talked about today, you can go on my blog, you can search the keywords strategic game plan or business plan, whatever you want, and there's lots of content there. So please take advantage of that. You will also find there, I've written my Be Different or Be Dead book series is 7. The latest one, which you were kind enough to mention, there's information there on the books. But I've also got an email, and it's roy.osing@gmail.com. And I'd love to have conversations one-on-one with people. And it's really interesting to me. I get people now calling me or sending me an email, say, hey, Roy, heard the podcast. Here's my only statement. What do you think? What a wonderful opportunity, right? To actually get, and of course it's pro bono. I just do this, try and keep things going, right? Keep it alive. And so reach out. I'd love to help.
What a fabulous invitation for connection to the audience members. Thank you for that. The URL and the email will be in the show notes so that people can find that and take you up on your offer if they're bold enough and audacious enough to take the effort. Audience, this has been a fabulous conversation today. We've talked about the power of differentiation and how what we're taught in school is absolute claptrap. And we need to get to the idea and understand pain so that we can define the strategic outcomes that will make our customers crave what we do for them. It starts by setting the right context. That's only 20% of the time planning, 80% executing. If we get to this space, We are in a position where we can change culture and we can make the impact to grow and scale our businesses in the ways we've dreamt of but never knew how to do before. So audience, you know my rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next time.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show.